Hello, my name is Cade Nelson, and I'm a Systems Integration Engineer with Apposite Technologies. In this tutorial video, I'm going to walk you through installing the Netropy Virtual Edition into VMware's EXSi environments. So there are a few prerequisites before we get started. First off, that you need to be running VMware's EXSi 5.5 or higher. You need at least one data store with 20 gigabytes of free space. Your EXSi can access the internet. We will need access to the internet so that your virtual appliance can get licensed. You have SSH access to the EXSi server. It's on and working, and you can log in. And you have a license or a demo license that you obtained through Apposite Technologies. If you don't have a license, just reach out to sales@apposite-tech.com and we can get you a trial license, or you can purchase a license. So what does this script do? It installs the Netropy Virtual Edition in your VMware EXSi 5.5 and above. It also downloads and installs the OVF tool. This is a tool, free tool that is available on VMware's website, so we're not bringing any foreign software into your environment. It also downloads and installs 2 Slim Linux virtual machines. This is used to test and verify that your Netropy is installed and working correctly. It then downloads and installs Netropy Virtual Edition. And while it's doing this, it's going to create a pocket network that's going to have 2 virtual switches and 2 port groups. So let's take a look to see what this script is going to install and how it's going to look. So here we have our topology. You can see over on the left side we have node 1 with the IP address of 10.0.0.1. Then we have node 2 on the right side with the IP address of 10.0.0.2. And in between, we have the NetropyVE. And you can see here that the NetropyVE has 3 ports. We have port 0, which is plugged into vSwitch 0, which is doing DHCP. So this is your management switch, and this is how you access your GUI, is through this management port. Then we have port 1, which is connected to the NetropyVE port group A that gets created. And then we have port 2, which is going to be connected to the NetropyVE port group B switch, or port group that we're creating in the script. And now when node 1 tries to talk to node 2, it comes across this port group, goes through the Netropy, into the next port group, and then hits node 2. And then on the way back, it goes back like this. So these two guys, when they're talking to each other over the network, it will go through the Netropy. So the Netropy works pretty much like a layer 2 bridge. Okay, so to get started, first thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and log into my VM box, and I just want to make sure everything's looking good. And I'm going to show you that none of the stuff I'm going to build already exists, right? All right, so let's look at some of the virtual machines, and we can see here that there's a few virtual machines, but I don't see the node 1 or the NetropyVE that the script is going to create. Let's look at our networking, and we can see here we have a few virtual switches and a few port groups, but none of them are named NVE PGA or NVE PGB, right? So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to log in to my EXSi. In this case, it's sandbox-LA, and run my script, get my script running, right? So first thing I need to do is SSH into sandbox-LA. In this case, I'm using root. put in my password. Okay, great. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my data store. Well, actually, the very first thing I need to do is add a firewall rule that allows the traffic that the script is going to need to get out. So we're using the EXXCLI command, doing a network firewall rule set HTTP client, and we're setting that to true. So this is going to allow us to run what's called a wget command later. So I'm just going to hit enter on that. Should take it. Yep, there we go. So now I'm going to go where my data store is. Remember I said you need at least 20 gigabytes of data store storage. So I'm going to go in here, cd vm. If I can use a tab here, then I'm going to go into my volumes. And let's see, what data store do I have? So I have data store 1. If you see that guy over here, I have data store 1. So I'm just going to cd into that. And there we go. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a directory that is going to be where all of my virtual machines reside. So in this case, I'm just going to call it netropy-demo. And then I'm going to cd into that. So now if I do a pwd, I can see I'm in VMFS volumes data store netropy-demo. All right, so now the fun part. First thing I got to do is download the install script. So I'm going to use a wget command. And all this information will be available to you below in the comments or in the video information. So I'm going to do wget to this URL. Hit enter. It's going to download it. There we go. So now if I do an ls, I'll see that. So now I'm going to make it executable by doing a chmod plus x, meaning change the mod to executable on the netropy-lab-install.sh script. So I hit enter. Now, if I do an ls, it should be green. You can see now my netropy lab install is now green. I'm going to refresh the screen for you now. Now all I have to do is run the script, right? So I'll do a /, which is saying, run the script that's located in this directory called netropy-lab-install.sh. So the first thing it's going to do is going to ask me for my EXSi login information. So the reason why we are getting this is the OVF tool, when we run that command, it's going to ask for your login information. So we're not going to save this login information or anything like that. This is just going to be used to run the OVF tool. And as soon as the script is done running, it's going to forget your username and password. So it is safe. So I'm going to use username root, put in my password. And now I'm going to run it. And we can see it starting the install. So first thing it's doing is downloading OVF tool. And it downloaded that. Now it's installing node 1. And it's about a 16 megabyte OVA file. It's small. So it downloaded it, and now it's installing it. And now it's going to do the same for node 2. And again, this one's about 16 megabyte OVA. Shouldn't take too long to install. There we go. And now it's going to download and install the NetropyVE OVA. Now this one's a little bigger. It's about 79 megabytes, almost 80. And it'll take a little bit longer to install it. And once it installs them, it's going to boot up these devices. It's going to power them on. About halfway there. All right, just finishing up. Okay, just completed. And now it's powering on the VMs. And it's installed. So if we see here, it says in yellow up here that it's installed Node 1, Node 2, and Netropy. And then in this little green box here, it tells you what you need to do to license the device. So we are actually done here for now. Let me pop back open our guy here. So now I'm back in Sandbox LA. So let's take a look at virtual machines. I scroll down here. I see Node 1 is turned on. Node 2 is turned on, and there's vNetropy. Let's take a look at the networking. I now see a port group called Netropy or NVE PGA, NVE PGB. We look at our virtual switches, and we see NVE vSwitch A, NVE vSwitch B. And so let's go and get things running on the vNetropy box. So I'm just going to click on this guy, and then I click here and get into the console. So you might see some warnings like this. Don't worry about it. It's no big deal. It's normally just IPv6 stuff. And if you're not running IPv6 or don't have IPv6 DHCP working, you'll get these network warnings. So don't worry about them. Just go ahead and log in. And the login and username and password are going to be admin. All right, so now I'm going to do a management show. And this is going to tell me what IP address the Netropy is running. So in this case, it's 192.168.168.56. So let's log into this guy, 192.168.168.56. Hit enter, and I see I'm going to a login page right here. So the first time you open it, it takes a little bit longer because it's setting some things up. And here we go. I'm going to log in as admin. All right, so now I get a EULA and user license. You should read this with a magnifying glass and hit accept. And now you get a warning. This is basically just saying, hey, if your EXSi doesn't have much power and it's legacy and you don't have the resources, you might not get really good performance. This is just a warning, no big deal. And now it's going to ask for a license. All right, so this is where you go and hit up, you're going to hit up sales@apposite-tech.com and get your license. I am lucky, I already have a license, so I'm just going to plop it in here, and I'm going to apply my key, and there we go. I now have a 23-day license here. I'm going to close that, and voila, I see I have 23 days left on my license, and this is the Netropy Virtual Edition. So just quickly, I'm going to walk you through a couple things that I like to do. First things first, I like to make the default path. So a path is a network. I like to edit it and make it a little bit more realistic. In this case, I'm going to create the default path to be a 1 gigabit throughput. Just for now, I'm going to apply my change. Now, if I go back to topology view, I can see it's 1 gigabit with no delay. Let's create a couple other types of networks. So I'm going to go here where it says path. I'm going to hit plus. First thing I'll do is Wi-Fi, right? So I have some presets here I can use. I'm going to use Wi-Fi. We'll use 802.11n just for fun. And now I see here I have a Wi-Fi type network that's 500 megabits in both directions in 15 milliseconds of delay. Let's create a cellular. We'll do a 4G LTE, and I have a drop down for that. There we go. I'm going to create that, and now I see a 4G LTE, and then let's create something that has a little bit more havoc. We'll do SD-WAN, right? And I have an SD-WAN bad down here. So I'm going to create that. So now you see I have 4 different types of networks. I have default path, which doesn't have much going on, Wi-Fi with 500 megabits, and then 30 millisecond delay round trip, because it's 15 in both directions. Then I have a 4G, which is 15 megabits in one direction, 12.5 megabits in the opposite direction, and 50 millisecond latency round trip. And then I have this SD-WAN network, which is 400 megabits in both direction. And we're going to get this has jitter, right? So it's going to be anywhere between 50 and 80 milliseconds round trip. So let's prove out these networks real quick. So sorry about that. Let's go back over here and let's log into node 1 and node 2. So let's go node 1. I'm just going to click in here. All right, so there's no username and password needed for these guys. They're just tiny core Linux. They're real small. They're very simple. They're just here so you can verify NetropyVE is working. And then you can delete these guys and add in your own VMs or replace them with your own. Or you can use these VMs if you want and add your own stuff. It's up to you. So first thing I like to do is just verify my IP address, 10.0.0.1. And let's go take a look at node 2 now. And if config, and we see node 2 is 10.0.0.2. So let's do a ping from node 1 to node 2, right? So ping, I'm on node 1, 10.0.0.2. Now I'm going to ping node 2. So let's run that ping. We see now it's about a half millisecond of latency. Let's go back over to NetropyVE. First thing I'm going to do is verify that I can see the traffic. So I'm going to click on bypass, and I should see some traffic running through here. That's my ping right now. We can see we're getting 816 bytes a second in both directions. If I come back over here, cancel my ping, and look back here, we should see that ping stop. Great. So we know the traffic is running through that guy. So let's move node 1 and 2 to use this SD-WAN network, right? So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to create an endpoint. So I'm going to create an endpoint. I'm going to call this node 1, and he's plugged into port 1 on the NetropyVE, and I'm going to assign him to SD-WAN, and his IP address is 10.0.0.1. And I'm going to go ahead and create that. And now I see node 1 is connected to SD-WAN. So I'm now going to add node 2. Node 2. So if we go back, where's my little network map that I showed you guys? So node 1 is plugged into port 1 on the NetropyVE, and node 2 is plugged into port 2 on the NetropyVE. So let's go back and finish creating node 2. He's plugged into port 2, and he's going to go on SD-WAN, and his IP address is 10.0.0.2. Great, so create it. Awesome. So let's come back here, start our ping up. So now we'll see we're still only half a millisecond. But if we look at this network, we can see we should be getting anywhere between 50 and 80 milliseconds of jitter. So why am I not seeing that? Well, it's because I'm doing a rookie mistake, and that rookie mistake is I forgot to turn on emulation. So let's turn on emulation, go back and look at my ping, and now we see it jumping around. It's got jitter, okay? So while this test is running, I could even come in and make some changes on the fly. I'm just going to turn on packet duplication just so we can see it working. So I'm going to put in a 70% probability that we get packet duplication. I hit apply change, and now we start seeing duplicate packets over here. And now I'm going to turn off, apply change, and we'll see those duplicate packets disappear, which is good. And now for fun, let's just make it a constant 100 millisecond latency. So you can see that on the fly. And apply change. We come back here, and now we see we're actually at 100.5 milliseconds. That's because there's already a half millisecond within VMware. But that's 100. Great. And just for fun now, let's run kind of like a bandwidth test. So these little guys have iPerf. So we're going to go back over to my virtual machines here. Let's, where's my node 2? There's node 2. All right, so I'm just going to run iPerf 3 minus S for server. So he's running the server. And over on node 1, I'm going to run the client. So iPerf 3 minus C, which means 10.0.0.2, and then we'll run this for 60 seconds. So let's watch this guy rock and roll, see what kind of bandwidth we get. So this has got 100 milliseconds. We can go and watch the actual bandwidth run through here. And now I see it, and we're getting, it's jumping around anywhere from 20 megabits. I saw it as high as 30. Yeah, there's 20. Yeah, it looks like it's sticking around, right around 15 to 20 megabits. Right, so that's going to run for 1 minute. Let's go back here. And it should be finishing soon. Oh, it jumped back up. So, you know, you might be saying, hey, Cade, we should be seeing 400 megabit throughput. No, that's not true because we have 100 milliseconds of delay. So let's let that finish. And it should give us a little report. There we go. So it says it sent 207 megabytes at an average rate of 28.9, well, almost 30 megabits average, right? So let's see, like, this is a 400 megabit line, but we're only getting 30 megabits. So we're not getting really good performance. So let's see what happens if we turn off this loss, turn off this packet reordering, and let's just bring our ping time down to 30 milliseconds round trip. Let's see if we get a better performance. So we're just going to run this same exact command again. And if you do a man on iPerf, it's a really powerful tool. It lets you test your bandwidth, and you can do some, preliminary testing. And let's go. We can actually watch the bandwidth run through here. And as you see here, now we're getting 126 megabits a minute. So this was with the loss, the packet reordering, and the 100 millisecond latency. Now we're at 30 millisecond latency with no loss and no packet reordering. So we're getting 130, 125 megabit throughput. So we're looking better. There it goes. So yeah, so now up here we were at 30 megabits, and then the next test was 120 megabits. So this is just a quick example to show you how you can use these two node 1 and node 2 little slim Linux to test that NetropyVE is working. And so what I would suggest here is after you have this built, just replace node 1 and node 2 with your application. If you have a client and server application, put your client on one side, your server on the other, and and send your traffic through the NetropyVE, and now you can do your WAN emulation testing using our NetropyVE. So just real quick, I'm going to now clean everything up and delete it like it never existed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to download the cleanup script. Again, this will be located in the comments below. So I'm going to download this cleanup script. Now I'm going to chmod plus exit, make it executable. And this is Netropy Lab cleanup. Bam. Now I'm going to run it. And you see it's powering it off. And it's done. So let's go back and look at our EXSi GUI. And if I scroll down, I no longer see those virtual machines. I go to my networking. I no longer see those virtual switches, and I don't see those port groups anymore. So that's it. I had everything up and running in 10, 15 minutes, did a few tests, and now I deleted everything. And it's almost like it was never there. You can see here my destroy command powering off and everything right here. So that's it. And then to finally clean everything up, right, I still have these two scripts here. I could leave them there and run them whenever I want, or I can come down here and I'm going to remove that directory. And now it's as though it's never happened. All right, guys, so that's it for my, my demo here. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at support@appositetech.com. And again, if you'd like to get your hands on the license to run this script and test out NetropyVE, hit up sales@apposite-tech.com. It's right down here. We see it down here. Great. So thank you for watching. Hope to hear from you soon. Let me know if you have any further questions, and have a great day.